Alright, so this will be my high-ranged battery effect build from rockets for Iron Man. So we'll get right into it. So the main thing is going to be the ranged piece, but this does help with the signature attacks dealing sonic damage because I have Cosmic on the rockets, and the sonic effect from the signature attacks or light combo finishers does create a battery effect with Cosmic, but the main battery effect that you're going to be going for is actually the shock from his support heroic. That's going to be the fastest one you'll be able to pull off anyway, so it's really not too big of a deal. And plus we'll have a damage buff at a Tachyon Surge going anyway, but also what you want to look out for is obviously precision as much as possible. Then I would say the secondary is Valor, because especially with the Unibeam specialization now that has the 3 short Unibeams, they got buffed like crazy and it's super viable now, so I would try to have your heroic stat as high as possible as well. But because I couldn't do that for this, I do have resilience, which is pretty good as well. Like my defense being just below 2,000, I consider that to be pretty good, and it makes it so you die a lot less. So I got this piece specifically from the Elite Raid. The other perks really aren't that big of a deal to me just for this specific build, but they are good perks, I will say that, but they're just really not that big of a deal for this build specifically. Now for this ranged piece, this is going to be the harder piece to get. Like this, just straight up, this is one of the hardest piece to get with any of the heroes. Repulsors of the Storm. There is an incredibly small chance to get it from the Cosmic Threat Monica Villain Sector in the Snowy Tundra. There is an incredibly small chance to get it from there. The issue with characters that you care about their ranged for, so like for Iron Man, is you could get lucky one time and you can get the damage buff and the Tachyon Surge on it, but then you could get like repulsors and not rockets. And obviously the main thing that does the bulk of the damage is rockets. So it is incredibly hard to get. You can either get it from the Villain Sector directly itself, or you could get it from the Cosmic Threat event whenever it comes back around, but it still is incredibly hard to get. But as you can see, it has Precision, Valor, and Might on it. The only thing that would make it better would be Resilience instead of Might. I don't know if it's able to roll like that. But obviously all 3 perks are what's important here. So we have Cosmic on rockets, and then we have range critical attacks have a chance to activate not only a damage buff, but also a Tachyon Surge. So basically a double damage buff just from doing ranged attacks. And since this is a ranged attack focused build, they're going to be proccing like all the time. So this build is really good, and this piece is one of the best pieces in the game. Honestly, almost with everybody. But moving on to the defense, so there's really no perks here that's super crazy. Chance to completely resist all damage from sonic attacks. I mean, yeah, that's cool, but the main thing on this that we're concerned with is the triple stats, the Valor, Precision, and Resilience. You could drop the Resilience and have a higher Valor and Precision stat potentially, but you know what? I prefer to have a Resilience on there to have more defense, like I said. But this piece you also get from the Elite Raid. And then this piece right here, it's honestly shame on me for not writing down where I get different pieces from. I'm all but positive you have a chance of getting this piece from the Villain Sector. And if it's not the Villain Sector, then it is the Vault. But I am almost positive it is either the Vault or the Villain Sector. It's one of the new ones that dropped when they added exotics to those missions. But either way, you'll be able to tell if you do the Villain Sector or you do the Vault and you get an exotic that's heroic, that's not this, then you know it's the other one. I'll just put it that way, because you can't really roll it any differently besides potentially rolling other stats. The perks are going to be the exact same as far as I know. So obviously the main perk the main 2 perks, I should say, that's great is 150% increased critical attack damage while overcharged, and then gain an extra arc overload charge. So what you can do is you can activate his support to electrocute nearby enemies, so it applies shock, that then creates a battery effect from the Cosmic Rockets, and then it increases your critical damage because you're overcharged, and then you get a second charge of it as well. So the build itself is just really good in my opinion. So now we'll move on to the minor artifacts, which both of my minor artifacts are precision based. Now you could have them as heroic based, or valor based, I should say, which will bring your heroic stat up a lot. These aren't even 165, and you can see they would bring my heroic stat up a lot. But obviously, this is mainly from the rockets. The damage is mainly coming from the rockets, which is going to be precision. And you'll even see, even though my heroic stat is only 3,000, the triple repulsor configuration, the buff that it got recently was just so crazy that the damage is just really good without your heroic being much higher than this. So the main thing you do want on these is just the triple precision stat, all 64. The double precision stat, double stats in general on the minor artifacts do not scale as well to 165 as the triple stats do. So you do want triple stats on the minor artifacts. Triple stats on the main 4 pieces of gear compared to double stats doesn't matter that much. Double stats are a lot higher, but they obviously focus on different things. So like, for example, like this right here, resilience and precision, they're above 100, and then these 3 are at 80. So like you could have double stat for all of these, and you would have a lot higher focus. So I could have a potential a lot higher range stat, but I would be sacrificing like defense or something like that. But like I said, the minor ISOs that you want are triple precision. You can get these from either of the faction vendors. Just check them daily, or you can just get them randomly from chests. And then the major artifact, the main one that I always use, is the Nornstone of Lethal Will, because I prefer to be able to activate a damage buff if I'm ever in a pinch or against a boss or anything like that. So now we'll go over the skill configurations. So not all of these are going to be an absolute necessity. Some of these are going to be your personal preference, and I'll point those out as I go along. But Arc Field, for example, for the support heroic, that's just my personal preference. I prefer to have the barrier around me. This one, the Energy Burst by Arc Overload, can instantly revive teammates. That's also personal preference. You could also have it reflect. That one really doesn't matter that much to me, but I just prefer the healing allies part. So reserve capacitors, I would say this is your personal preference, but my God, this got buffed so incredibly good. Like, I would say it almost dwarfs the other Unibeam configurations almost. Like, it's actually insane how much these got boosted. So I would go with this 100%. And then with this, the Unibeam deals more damage to a single target. And then for reserve capacitors, if you do the same shot on an enemy multiple times, that it increases damage. Obviously, that's going to help the most on a boss than compared to anything else. Disruption Pulse, everything with Hulkbuster is really going to be your preference. I have this on Disruption Pulse right now because of the Claw Raid. I probably prefer Unibeam, but again, that's just your personal preference. And then reduces the intrinsic cost by 25% for actions or attacks while using Hulkbuster. That just allows you to stay in Hulkbuster longer. Now for these, so increases the damage of all combo finishers by 25%. That's your personal preference. Performing a takedown forces an enemy to drop a heroic orb. That's your preference. I prefer heroic orbs. Increases critical damage by 15% for all ranged attacks. This is, goes without saying, this is an absolute must because it's the main thing is a ranged attack build. And then increases damage of all rocket attacks by 12%. That is an absolute must because it mainly revolves around the rockets. Adds a target guidance system based on to basic aimed rocket attacks. It's not a necessity, but it just makes hitting enemies with the rocket easier. Decreases the intrinsic energy cost for rocket attacks by 10%. I would say that's also a must, so you can do more rockets. Increases the maximum amount of intrinsic supercharge energy by 15%. I would say that is a must, just so it makes you be able to do even more rockets. Increases the duration of the overcharge state by 2 seconds. I would say that's a must because you get more critical attack while overcharged with this build. Increases damage for all attacks while overcharged by 12.5%. I would also say that's a must. And then adds shock damage to the energy pulse ability. I would say this is kind of just a preference because I don't use that ability that much. Heroes near the energy barrier gain a 15% critical chance increase on all attacks. I feel like that's a preference as well. And then Afterburner, I mean, that's just a preference. That's just flying fast, so I would say that's a preference as well. And then for champion skills, so I always go by these 3 columns first. So this one, and then this one. I always go this one first, at least get them to like 3 or 4. This one and then this one. These two raise your defense, and then this one raises your critical damage. So that's how I always try to do them. So this one, and then this one, and then after that, that's just really your preference at that point. So that wraps up my Iron Man build. Comment down below how you might build your Iron Man. If you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content, and I will end this video with footage of this build in action. And I appreciate you for watching the video.
Heads up, we got company! Flame it off! Hard attack! Curse you!
Guess you've got some rockets hiding back there?
Kate, AIM has control of the bridge. We can't open it again unless we get it back.
Please just